But yeah, if any other adults want to request the box, 18 plus, serious conversations only. It's kind of the end of it, isn't it? Go sign up to that. Continue to engage with vegan resources online. Go to helpgoingvegan.info/reality. I'll pull up a website for you. How about that? Give me a second. Kind of the end of it, isn't it? Go sign up to that. So yeah, Alex, if you're still here, obviously you know the top resource because you said you tried it before, but nothing's stopping you engaging again. But the bottom resource might just give you a bit more of an open eye on what's going on across a whole range of industries. And so I'd say it's worth you taking a screenshot and going to that second website right now. Look at all the numbers at the top of the page. Take a few minutes to take them in and really try and think about that and what it means. And then look further down the page and watch some of the videos and engage. Just give you a bit more of an open eye on what's going on. Maybe once you've started Challenge 22 and you've spent some time on a website like this one and engaging with more vegan resources, you might be a bit more open and comfortable with the idea of talking about doing it forward and what it really means. Vegan perspective, I'm about to play music because my mouth is really dry and I need to go to the toilet and I'm fed up. So the song and then does a live reaction to the song, but then does a live reaction to his live reaction to the song, and it like layers up into this weird mess. Percolate the mind, trickle down the spine, swallow
anywhere because you didn't care to actually listen. Hi, Betta. Hi, Sebastian.
Me. Oh, damn it.
Hi.
Right, Vet.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Betta. Uh, can we get your
Hi.
age, please?
I'm 18.
What year were you born?
2007 in January. I just recently turned 18.
There's no way. Why did it take you so long to figure that out?
2007 in January. Please be 18 to join a TikTok live.
I know I saw that. I'll follow your alt account. Holy, three following, one follower. If you were listening, because people who are actually 18 don't take like 45 seconds to figure out when their birthday was. Sorry.
Didn't they say 2008 at one point as well?
No, they said 2007. I was born in January.
Clear sign of an adult. Not. All right. Well, if you want to go live, you can, but I don't know how busy
Yeah, I'll go
you
live.
are. Or I can just go live on another account, and you can sit in the same place, and just
I don't know.
whichever's best for you at work, basically.
Yeah, whatever. It's not too crazy here right now. I was making some calls about my banking, but otherwise, I think probably the majority of the calls are done. We'll see how the day goes.
All right. Are you ready now, or do you need a bit of time?
Yeah, I can go now.
All right, let's do it.
All right, bye. Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Should I also play some TikTok music? Why can't I hear it? It's so
Yeah.
It never accepted me to do the TikTok lives on the other account. It said you're on your way there. You just need to get more followers. And I'm like, you guys fucking suck. I wish it was easier to read the comments on this one. I need vegan protein advice besides chickpeas and tofu. Yeah, like black beans would be good. Lentils, I use black lentils because they're kind of the same texture as like a ground beef. And they're very high in protein and fiber. You can use whole grain rices or whole grain flours for your bread. Like if I have two pieces of ancient grain bread, that's like 10 grams of protein.
I think with super new accounts as well, they put extra restrictions on. So maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that might be why too. I don't know. Maybe
when
I'll
I
try.
when I first made the Upside Down Persona account, I hit the follower account for joining lives, and it wouldn't let me do it for weeks after, and it had these weird restrictions where it was like you can't follow them.
Yeah.
If you use a Google email, they have like trusted email accounts. So if you use a Google address, then they'll like trust it. But if you use a new address or an alternative, they might put certain restrictions on because they might think it's spam. If Google or Gmail comes with certain security measures like having a phone number and stuff just to sign it. But
We have a request, guys. We have 2 requests, guys. I don't know. This is questionable. Let's try. Turn the music off. Hi, Dodo.
Is the background image AI generated?
Yeah, can we get your age?
Why are you using AI?
Okay, bye.
it's like,
Okay.
why can't they just answer? And then he'll write in the chat, I am 17 and a half.
Close enough. No, it's not. I don't know who this Heather person is. I let them up yesterday, and then they like left after they laughed. That's all they did. They like giggled and then left. Alex, I'm not talking to you. You weren't receptive to the conversation at all. Let's try Veta. I'll believe that you're 18. Fine. But you're on a short leash. What do you understand about veganism?
Wait, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. What do you understand about veganism?
Okay. I just, as I wanted to say on the previous live that, first of all, I would clarify that I'm not vegan myself, but I support like people who are vegan and I have my respect for them. What I wanted to ask is your opinion on, so you are against people buying meat from the shop because we're basically paying other people to kill animals. Is that correct?
No, we're against the exploitation and cruelty to animals. So I'll go through the definition with you. So veganism is a social justice movement which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, the cruelty and exploitation to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. So veganism is not a diet, it's a philosophical stance. And we wouldn't attend zoos or wear leather or buy cosmetics that had been tested on animals. So can you tell me why you're not vegan?
Well, I'm not vegan because I simply enjoy eating meat.
Yeah, so if I enjoyed eating your body parts, would it be okay for me to take your life and consume your body parts?
Maybe not mine. See,
Why?
the question is
Why? The
back
the
to
page, the
the
top of the page says do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. So if you're not okay with it happening to you, I need you to give me a justification as to why it's okay for it to happen to somebody else.
like for animals. Okay, but animals do eat animals. It's natural, right?
Yeah, that's fine. And they're moral
They do each
patients,
other.
not moral agents. And you have the ability to make morally based decisions, whereas animals do not have that ability. So you need to consider what the implication is for your actions, which is the unaliving of sentient beings, people, Jesus, other life that has the ability to feel pain and feel fear and suffer just the same as you do.
Okay, but let's take animals as well. For example, wolves. They wouldn't eat anyone from their own
Okay, are
pack. They
you a
would go
wolf,
for
Veta?
bunnies or something
Like
like
you're
that.
just missing the point. Are you a wolf?
I'm a human, so I wouldn't go
Right,
for another human.
right. You're a human, so you have the ability to make decisions based in morals, and so you should make the decision to not cause someone to suffer just so that you can enjoy consuming their dead body parts.
But so do animals. They have a choice. They have a choice
Yeah,
of go eat someone else.
you absolutely have a choice, and you have the ability to weigh the impact of your moral decisions. And you are choosing not to do that because you would like to stay blind to the fact that there is a victim to what you are doing.
Okay, even if I was vegan, I would still go to the shop and
And you could
buy
buy
meat,
some,
for
you could buy
example.
something. Well, if you were vegan and you would still go to the store and buy meat, then you wouldn't be vegan.
No, okay, for example, my dog needs to eat meat,
Yeah, dogs don't
right?
need to eat meat. They can eat a plant-based diet. And if you were to become vegan and connect with the ethics, you would understand that um, like even if you couldn't afford to give your dog an entirely plant-based diet or there wasn't options available near you, there's a part in the definition that says as far as is practicable and possible. So you are going to do everything in your power to stop exploiting animals for your own personal enjoyment or convenience, and you will do like as far as you can, right? That's why it says as far as is practicable and possible. So for example, I have cats, and cats can survive on a plant-based diet, but I live in northern Canada and it costs like $45 for one bag of vegan cat or plant-based cat food and another $27 to ship that cat food. So it's not practicable because I'm low income for me to be buying that type of cat food. So I do still buy animal products because I need to make sure that the animals I rescued can eat.
Wait, so come again. What do your animals eat? Your cats?
They eat food with animal products in them.
So you still go basically and buy meat as a vegan.
Yes, I reduce my impact where I can, and I cannot reduce my impact via my cat's diet. Did you understand the definition? Because I can go over
Yeah,
it again. So
but does
just
it
to
not mean
just to
that
really emphasize and drive this home, Veta, as far as is practicable and possible.
Okay, I get that.
Do you get the difference, Veta? So she put in the Desi's saying that she put in the work to understand if her animals, her companion animals, can thrive on a plant-based diet, and if they can't, or if it's out of her range of based on her income, and she can't afford to go plant-based, then and she takes the necessary steps as far as she practically can. But that's the thing, is about adopting a vegan mindset, because if you could put in a little bit of effort to understand that your dog can thrive off of different food that doesn't involve animal exploitation, then you should adapt that mindset when you're, in your moral compass, and take that step. Now, if your dog, or for whatever reason, absolutely cannot, I mean, I don't think there is a case, but maybe there's a rare case that they can't, then you do what you have to. But just because your dog is or might have to consume animal flesh doesn't mean that you have to, you yourself. So again, veganism is not about perfection, and it's about working within the limitations of what you can practicably. If you can't, then that's okay. You can still, live a vegan life. But you have to put in the effort. If you're not putting in the effort to understand if you can, then what's the point?
Okay, thank you. That was the answer for me.
Yeah, I mean, can you tell us now why you're not vegan?
I've already told you that because I like meat. I
Because
like
it
eating
tastes
meat.
good, right? But you've already said that it's not a justification for me to take your life, or even your dog's life, if I like the way that they taste, right?
Yeah, some people do eat dogs, and this
Yeah, can
is
I eat your
weird.
dog, Veta?
No,
Why?
it's my property.
Why? What's wrong
I
with
think
that?
it's my property. I can't. Did you hear me?
No.
I said because I think that my dog is my property and I wouldn't be
Well, they're
really
not your
satisfied with you
property,
touching
they're your
it.
companion, right? Like, I'm sure that you wouldn't say that there's something you own, like a car, that you would get rid of if they broke down or got sick.
Well, at the point when you say that you would eat my dog, then I would say that they're my property.
Okay, but they're not property, right? You would still take care of them if they didn't serve a purpose to you, right? You'd still love
Yeah.
them. Yeah. So they're not property, they're your companion. And I want to know why it would upset you if I was to consume, maybe not even your dog. What if I was walking past a grocery store and there was a dog outside and I was like, oh, well, I could go in the store and get some meat, but instead I'm going to just slit the throat of this dog and take them home and consume their flesh.
Mm,
Yeah, and just to reiterate on the property thing, if somebody hurt your dog, or your dog was sick, or your dog went missing, or say, I don't know, I guess if somebody kidnapped your dog and they asked you, "Oh my God, somebody kidnapped your dog," you wouldn't say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm sad because that's my property," right? You would say, "Oh no, I care about them. I'm upset because somebody took them away from me." You wouldn't just like objectify them in a way of that they're just your property.
yeah, I meant in a way that if someone asked me what my dog is, obviously I would say companion, but in this case, if someone asks me like if I can eat your dog, then I would call it my property because I don't want them to like touch me,
Wouldn't you say
touch
that?
my dog, sorry.
Wouldn't you say that's a dog that deserves to live and shouldn't be killed? Not that they're your property.
Pardon? What?
You wouldn't say this dog deserves to live because I own them. You'd say this dog deserves to live because they're an individual living on their own terms, and we shouldn't kill them. It's not our right to take their life from them, regardless of who.
Yeah, and I understand that. I'm just pointing the fact that you can't touch it because it's mine. I would fight for my rights for it that
Well,
you
Desi
can't
got
touch
that. There
it.
are dogs that aren't quote unquote yours. They could be a street dog or someone else's dog. They still deserve to live.
Yeah, are you okay with me taking the life of the dog outside the grocery store to consume their flesh?
By that point, we were talking about my dog, but if you did that, that would probably be illegal, wouldn't
Yeah,
it be?
but legality is not the same as morality. There's lots of places in the world where there are things that are legal that aren't moral. Would you agree?
That's kind of fighting with the government at this point because, like, if you take
Okay,
another
no.
country
What
when
the
where
question is,
eating
what the
dogs is
question is,
allowed,
I'm
you
not trying
can't
to
really
make
follow
all
that.
laws moral, Veta. I'm not trying to make all laws moral. What I'm saying is, would you agree that there are laws that aren't morally justified? For example,
Probably,
it's
yeah.
legal in other countries to do female genital mutilation. Would that be acceptable because it's legal?
It's okay to say no. Like you don't. It's not a trick question. I mean, you're trying to say that we're bound by the government, but just like Desi stated, there are some immoral things that happen outside of our country that is definitely horrific, like female mutilation.
Yeah, and in our countries too, not just out of our countries.
I agree.
Yeah, so if we agree that the law doesn't make morality, then we can't point to the law to define our morality for us. So while I might legally get in trouble, the question isn't whether or not I'm going to go to jail. The question is if it's morally defensible for me to take the life of a dog outside of a grocery store when I have another option.
Well, it definitely wouldn't be okay.
Right. Yeah. So if it wouldn't be okay for me to take the life of a stray dog, why would it be okay for me to take the life of a pig or a cow or a chicken? Like, what's the morally relevant difference between cows and pigs and chickens and dogs?
Probably just like the way that people see them, because if you ask some people, they would definitely say that a pig is not an animal, but it's a food, so it's okay for them to kill them.
Right, but that's arbitrary. That's something that's an appeal to popularity, right? That's something that we've assigned to animals as human beings. I'm sure that somebody who had a pet pig would probably feel quite disturbed at the fact that people eat pigs, but people do have pet pigs.
What do you think of what Desi said, Veta?
I don't think I have anything to say. I mean, that's correct, the point of view that she states.
Yeah,
I
so
completely agree
so
with that.
yeah, so if you agree that that what people do or what society does is also not a justification, then is there any other justification that you can make uh, for consuming the flesh of some animals but not the others?
I don't know. I simply don't know. I grew all my life just eating meat and it was fine.
So did I. And then I realized that I wouldn't want to have someone treat me the way that animals are treated. Would you put yourself in the position of a chicken or a pig? Would you accept the circumstances that they are given?
Mm,
And just remember, we're looking for openness and honesty. You don't feel like if you admit something that something terrible is going to happen. We all had the reflections you're having right now.
But what do I do? I've been in some countries that are like supporting veganism and stuff like that, and I've tried their food and it's been like really, really good. But in my country, we don't have the actual chance of becoming vegan. We don't have the products that are
Yeah, well,
vegan
when you
that
go to the
consist of.
store, when you go to the store, I'm sure you can buy beans and uh, whole grains and like even if you don't have the opportunity to buy like a plant-based substitute for something like impossible meat, right? You still have the opportunity to buy whole foods. These are staples in diets that even include animal products.
Yeah, but it's just that if I buy if, for example, UK that I've been to, it has some multiple meals that are really, really nice and they taste like meat and stuff like that. If I just go to the store, buy some proteins like beans and stuff, then obviously it wouldn't taste like the meat that I like.
Yeah,
And
you
so
can
that's
make it,
what's
you can
actually
you
keeping
can
me
modify
calm.
it with like ingredients and seasonings to have it taste the way that you like. For example, like myself and my children used to eat a lot of chicken, and now I use like a broth, a vegetarian broth concentrate that that tastes like chicken to make vegan products.
Okay. Well, I don't think I have anything left to say, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that you consider what's like what we've said to you here. You could also like if you needed ideas for recipes or for what to include in your diet, you could also check out challenge22.com. They're they have plant-based dietitians there that will help you figure out according to like your region what type of foods are available there, recipes to make with those foods. And you know, I think it's just important to remember that pigs and chickens and cows can feel fear and pain and excitement and joy the same way that your dog can. And they don't deserve to die to end up on your plate.
I understand that. Well, thank you so much for being kind to me today, for
Yeah.
understanding me as well. Thank you
Yeah.
loads.
Oh, we should have dropped the challenge 22 because
I
it
did.
seemed.
I
Oh,
can
you
put
did?
it up
Sorry,
though.
I was like zoned out reading chat. Oh, that's good. Yeah, because it seemed like she was getting it. I don't know how you all feel about it, but I very much appreciate somebody that's sitting in silence and thinking than just trying to jump the gun and start rambling about other stuff. So I think it was definitely connecting for her, I hope.
Yeah, I think if you're still in here, Veta, there's a bunch of documentaries here on the screen, as well as resources at the bottom so that you can check out Challenge 22 or whatever. You can just take a screenshot of this. And there's lots of really good resources there that could maybe help you connect a little bit more to, you know, what these animals have to go through to wind up on your plate. And there's no right way to take the life of someone who does not want to die. So I'm just gonna give her a second to screenshot it if she's still in here.
Oh, Desi, before you pull another person up, I forgot this is a new live. Are you okay if I stream our conversation here to YouTube?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Well, on that note, yeah, somebody was really one of the vegans on the YouTube side was impressed with your rhetoric, and I told him, oh yeah, she's only 4 years vegan, which is pretty.
4 months.
4 months. Sorry, 4 months. 4 months vegan.
4 months.
4 years we'd be disappointed, but 4 months. We'll give it to.
How dare you? Okay.
So what you
these
were
all
saying
look
there,
like
TVP,
children.
though, I do agree with you about them clearly like taking moments to reflect, and that's why you sort of said it as well. But like, it's okay to think. Just make sure you're honest.
Yeah. I think also just being honest with yourself. Like if you can't say it on a live with a bunch of people, then just think about it when you're on your own, you know? Oh, did Brian Pan come up? Oh no.
Hello.
Hi, can we get your age?
Yes, I'm 28.
Awesome. What's your understanding of veganism?
It's the, just not consuming meat for ethical reasons.
Okay, so I'll just run through the definition with you. So veganism is a social justice movement which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, the cruelty and exploitation of animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. So outside of our diet, we also wouldn't wear leather, go to zoos, or buy cosmetics that have been tested on animals. So with this understanding, can you tell me why you're not vegan?
Yeah, I'm not vegan for mainly health reasons. I don't believe that humans evolved to be a plant-based animal. If you look at, anywhere from our teeth to just our evolutionary history, we evolved to eat meat. So I don't believe that humans can live an optimal life without meat. And I don't
Yeah, I
necessarily
mean,
think,
if we could provide you with science to the alternative, would you consider changing
um,
your
yeah, I mean, if it was absolutely, I saw that as like the case and a fact, I would.
Yeah, I'll provide you a source here. I don't know the name of the article off the top of my brain.
But I'm just to clarify your position. I'm curious. Do you think was unethical for people, say, 2,000 years ago, to eat meat, or is it
No,
just with our modern
no,
society?
they didn't have the opportunity, like in lots of places 2,000 years ago, the opportunity wasn't there for them to be vegan, right?
Right.
But now, because of globalization, we have the opportunity to buy foods from all around the world at the grocery store at any time of year. And we have the opportunity to literally, it's not like it's a huge inconvenience. You just switch aisles at the grocery store. So it's not like they could have done it before, but we can very plausibly do it now.
Right. And I agree that it's definitely possible to do it now. But I guess your point is that it's not moral to eat meat, right?
Yeah, it's not moral to take the life of someone who does not want to die for your personal benefit unless there's like a real justification. So like just as an example, I'm sure like that plane where it crashed in the Andes and the people had to resort to consuming the flesh of their friends because they were dying. We don't think those people are terrible people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to sustain their life somehow. So in that circumstance, that was morally justifiable, the action, right? But
Yeah.
in modern day society, when we have the option to make better choices, it's not morally justifiable to consume animals.
Yeah.
So the paper that looks over the efficacy of a plant-based diet is the position of the American Dietetic Association on vegetarian diets, and I found it at PubMed, NCBI, NLM, NIH.gov.
Right. And so this only applies to like people in the, modern world that can, afford to go to Whole Foods and stuff. You wouldn't say that people, living day by day, like it's not immoral for them to eat meat. It's just for people in wealthier.
Well, not the wealthier population. Like I am categorized as low income. I don't even have a Whole Foods near me. But generally, the foods that you're buying on a plant-based diet are not expensive unless you're buying a lot of the like plant-based alternatives, like Beyond Meat or Impossible Nuggets,
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? Generally, the staples in a plant-based diet would be things like chickpeas, black beans, lentils. And if you've ever gone shopping for any of those products, you know that they're significantly less expensive than buying animal products. So
You're right, but I mean, my point is, even if you don't live in a Whole Foods, if you have running water in a refrigerator, you're doing pretty well. So,
oh yeah. Like if you are in on a deserted island and you have to like hunt for your food, that would be a moral justification because you need to do it to sustain your life. Or if you're like, again, though, homeless people, like there's people in our vegan community that have been homeless that have been able to sustain being vegan while they were homeless. Generally, things that are donated to food banks are things like canned beans, like non-perishable foods, right? So canned beans. You probably won't get bread or anything there. You might get like instant packets of rice or something. But if you are genuinely homeless, generally the things that people are providing are the things that are the cheapest, which is plant-based foods.
yeah, I guess I just making the point that it's only possible for maybe half the world's population to have like a high enough income to avoid just the cheapest foods that are around them.
Well, the cheapest foods are the plant-based foods, though.
Well, sure, if you're in America, but like if you were in, rural India where they don't have, they're in the Andes Mountains, they can't grow vegetables, they live a subsistence lifestyle. It's not immoral for them to eat meat because that's how they've traditionally
Yeah,
always
so
done.
for
So I would
answer,
say,
we would recognize practical limitations if you are in a part of the world where you had a genuine limitation or a unique situation within a nation where maybe things are usually more practical.
okay,
We would recognize practical limits that are genuine. We're just saying when your motivations are actually aligned with your morals, that there are actually opportunities that people don't always explore. But realistically, veganism does take into account these limitations.
okay. And I would say, like, what do you
That's
think the
why it's
main
sorry. That's why
difference?
it's not just to clarify. That's why it's not a diet. You can be vegan of mind, and your practical limitations can vary.
Yeah, I agree.
There are like Ben, the veganic farmer, who I think's in chat. He literally has enough land and time and finances from other sources or whatever to be able to dedicate resources to growing crops and
Sure.
engaging with the most ethical practices within that. And so his practical limitations are different to mine because I don't own land, right? And so it doesn't mean I'm less vegan. It means my situation is different, but our mindset is the same.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think point or my main like critique would be saying that human
You're not
lives
in.
and animal lives are equivalent, and I
What's
just want to know
frustrating?
y'all's opinions
I don't
on.
want to interrupt. I want to hand back to Desi because it's her life. But what's frustrating is you're appropriating someone else's situation that you're not in and discussing that and distracting from your own responsibilities and your own morals. You're saying, look at this person over there who's less well off than me, and not actually engaging with your own practicalities and your own responsibilities.
No, I was trying to make the point that, like, yeah, I think, us three have a lot of disposable income and we can make those moral choices, but some people can't. So that's the point I was trying to make. But as far as what I was trying to get at is, like, what do you guys see as the difference between humans and animals? Like, is there anything that separates us or, like,
Well, yeah,
morally?
there's lots of things that separate us, like sapience separates us, but it doesn't give us the right to exploit them for the products that they can, or like the benefits that they can supply to us, right? um I'm sure you would agree that even some humans, you could make big distinctions, uh like big distinctions from yourself. They might have um less intelligence or more intelligence. Like you can make these specific distinctions between even yourself and other humans. So it's not about like one or the other, right? Or like we have a third option. We don't have to exploit someone for our food. So the purpose would be to not exploit someone. But if we were faced with a situation, like, are you familiar with the trolley problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you were faced with the trolley problem, if you had a human, like if I had a stranger who was a human and a cow who I had no relationship to on the tracks, like on either track, um, just like yourself, I would likely save the human being. But we could hypothesize maybe if it was like a stranger human and a cat, and the cat was my cat, I would probably choose to save my cat. I might choose to save my cat, right? Because I have a bias towards that animal. Um, but
I
if
think that
it's
would be
not,
immoral, though, because human life is intrinsically more valuable than animal life.
yeah, can you tell me how?
Yeah, I mean, for one, the real difference between us and animals is that we have consciousness, which means that, as far as I'm concerned, we're aware of the future. We're always running around planning and working and trying to make the future better. Animals aren't aware of their mortality. They're not aware of tomorrow. They're aware of, base instincts. And my point is, I do think big time farming, there's a lot of unethical practices. But if we get back to regenerative farming where animals aren't being abused or harmed, I don't think there's
So
anything immoral
if
about
you're
that.
not if you're not abusing or harming someone, like if I give you a really nice life, I give you all the things you could need or want, and then one day, and we'll use the example of you being like a small child, I decide I'm going to take your life because I want to consume your flesh. Is that morally justifiable?
Well, if you just want to consume my flesh for your kicks, I would say no. But I would,
Right, because I don't need to
differ
consume
that,
your flesh. I have another option, right?
yeah, I would just say that if the table turned and you took flesh
Sorry, I don't know if that's my internet or your internet, but you glitched
and
out
you
a
set
bit
up
there.
my parents.
Yeah, your internet's kind of
Yeah, sorry. I was
Yeah,
just saying that
lagging out.
I don't
I
think
don't know
that.
if you.
it's definitely his. I hear it too. You're on a huge delay, Frying Pan. Just wait a sec, see if your internet's.
Maybe get
Okay, is
closer
that
to your
maybe it's
Wi-Fi
getting better?
router. Yeah, it seems to be better now.
Yeah, I was just saying okay. Well, I don't think, like, let's say if you were just killing an animal for the pure pleasure, that's not moral. But humans, we evolve to, alongside animals, and a lot of our biological functions can't work without B vitamins and stuff. And so, and like,
Yeah,
I don't
you
think it's
can
been
get everything
proven
you need
that you
from
can
a
live a
plant-based
fully
diet.
optimal life.
Yeah, I provided you the source for that.
If you
Do
take
you
that
want to
as
look it up?
fact, no, sure, but this is a debatable topic. Like, it's not been proven
No,
one way or
that's
the
not
other.
debatable.
So
It's been
I agree with
proven.
you.
It's been proven by science. So you can
If
choose
you
to
take a
ignore the
bunch of
science.
pills,
No, I don't
I mean,
take
there is no the
supplements.
science. You don't take any, then you get all your vitamins from,
You're glitching out really bad
right?
again.
We can't hear you. Like you've been about 15 seconds behind for the last minute and a half. Every time we try and talk back and forth, you're hearing what we said 10 seconds ago. I don't know if you can
Sorry,
get
better I switched to
new
my
Wi-Fi
5G.
a new Wi-Fi provider, or if you're on mobile data, walk somewhere else.
Yeah, I switched to 5G if that's working.
Yeah,
Is it working?
so yeah. So like I don't take supplements in my diet, and it's proven that you can be entirely healthy on a well-planned whole foods plant-based diet.
Well, like, for example, where would you get your calcium if you're not getting it from milk?
Vegetables.
Do you know what vegetable has calcium in it?
Yeah, I think broccoli, spinach are both quite high in calcium.
You
Lots
would,
of fruits are high in calcium.
you'd need to eat a crazy amount of broccoli to get
No.
You do, because you need 32 ounces of whole milk, which is the best source to get your calcium.
It is not the best. Like, where can you provide a source for your claim? Because I've provided to you a source for my claim, and my claim says that this dietary practice is adequate for all essential nutrients. So I just need to know where you're sourcing your claim, because we've had lots of information pushed towards us for the last 30 years that says otherwise, right?
Well,
But
we have we evolved eating animals.
Yes. No, I don't disagree that we evolved eating animals, but that doesn't mean that we need to continue doing things. Like, we also evolved graping each other. Should we continue graping each other?
No, definitely not.
No. Right. So just because we've done something for a long time is not a justification to continue doing it.
My point by saying we've done it for a long time is that I think our body evolved to require animal meat.
We don't require it. We don't require it. I implore you to look up the position of the American Dietetic Association. And for reference, the American Dietetic Association is the largest collaboration of dietitians in the world. Their position on vegetarian and vegan diets. They are healthful, nutritionally adequate, and provide benefits in the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. Like, I can just read over the abstract for you if you would like. Well-planned vegetarian diets are appropriate for individuals during all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, and adolescence, and for athletes. A vegetarian diet is defined as one that does not include meat, including fowl or seafood, or products containing these foods. This article reviews the current data related to key nutrients for vegetarians, including protein and 3 fatty acids, iron, zinc, iodine, calcium, and vitamins D and B12. A vegetarian diet can blah, 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 blah. I'm going to see if there's anywhere in here that says vegan, because I know that this is going to be a point of issue. The result of evidence-based lower risk of death, ischemic heart disease. Vegetarians also appear to have lower LDL cholesterol levels, low blood pressure, and lower rates of hypertension and type 2 diabetes than non-vegetarians. Furthermore, vegetarians tend to have a lower body mass index, lower overall cancer rates. Features of a vegetarian diet that may reduce risk of chronic disease, blah, 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 blah. So this is just the abstract of that. At the very top, it says including total vegetarian or vegan diets.
Okay. No, and look, I
And,
agree that
and frying pan, just for context, like if your desire was to get as much calcium as possible, you'd be eating ground eggshells because that has like 1,000 times more calcium than milk. You're not like, your desire isn't to get as much calcium as possible in one opportunity of consumption. It's to get enough for your body. And
Yeah.
even then, like calcified, fortified tofu and normal tofu has more calcium than dairy.
do you think I agree with what you guys are saying. Okay, if you take it as a truth that you can live 100% just as good a life, that not eating meat, like health wise, I would be for you. I don't personally believe that. I don't think there's enough
Okay,
evidence.
well, I've just provided the source
No, yeah,
to the
I know.
evidence. Have you looked up any evidence, or did you just come in here to say, oh, well, I don't think there's enough evidence when you haven't looked for any? Because
No,
there's
I've-
like, this is a meta-analysis of multiple different studies that show that plant-based diets are nutritionally adequate at all stages of life. So if you think that you cannot survive without animal products, I'd like you to source your claim.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's optimal, but would you agree that one study doesn't prove anything one way
It's
or another?
not one study, Frying Pan. It's a meta-analysis of multiple studies.
Okay, do you think there's any studies that contradict that study?
Okay, you might be able to find one or two studies that contradict this study. I don't even know the exact number of all the cited articles in here. Let me scroll down. 242 cited articles. So maybe you can find one that says otherwise, but I would trust these 242 cited articles first.
And
Okay,
many of them are meta-analysis that contain many other studies within them to get correlated data.
Okay, and that's fair, but I'll just say I was a statistics major in college, and we did a lot of these studies and reviewed these studies, and meta studies are great. I love meta studies, but just studies on average are kind of BS. But this is not the point, right? We're talking about animals, not necessarily studies.
No. The reason
No, we're talking about the science that backs up our claim, and you haven't provided any science that backs up your claim that you can't survive without animal products.
You've brought up claims that go against long-term health data and analysis, and then you're saying, well, let's ignore the studies and talk about animals. Yeah, we want to talk about morals, but we have to address what you said, right?
Yeah, and I didn't bring any studies, so I can only really talk about the morals of it. But like, you guys know that there are animals killed when they harvest crops, whether it's little field mice or birds, or talk
Can
about
you define exploitation?
But can we talk about all the insects that get murdered?
Yeah, can
too?
you define exploitation?
I can't, but can I just say this point is
So if you didn't
insects' lives
understand
matter the same as
Frying
animals.
Pan, if you didn't understand the definition when I gave it to you, you should have brought that up when I gave you the definition, right? So exploitation is the unfair benefit off of the products that someone can offer you, or off of someone else's. Oh God, I can't find the word in my brain. Sorry, give me a second. I can't find the last word of that. Benefiting from someone's resources, unfairly benefiting from someone's resources. So that's what exploitation is. It's not inherently exploitative for someone to die in the process of trying to harvest a crop. We can't control that in the current system that we're under, right? We would obviously advocate for it to be better so that insects and mice don't die, but in the system that we currently live under, we can't avoid that. And it's not exploitation because we are not expecting that direct benefit from that specific animal. Does that make sense?
I'm not 100% following, just to be honest. If you can explain a little more.
Yeah, so exploitation is the action or fact of treating someone unfairly to benefit from their resources. So it's not inherently exploitation if a field mouse gets run over by a tractor while they're harvesting grains, right? Because the intention was not to take advantage of that mouse, it was to harvest the grains. So in a vegan world, we would obviously aim to reduce these these deaths or the harm to these animals as much as is possible, but 96% of the world is not vegan right now. So it's part of the system that we have to participate in because we exist in this current system.
Okay, and I mean, just is all life equal? Like, are insects equal to animals and animals equal to humans, or is there like a tier of like what like
Yeah, like
is a
I'm
more
sure we would
conscious
agree
animal?
that there's a hierarchy. Like you might value a dog more than you value a pig, but you value a
Yeah.
human more than you value all of those. Like, yeah, we can acknowledge that there's a hierarchy, but when we do not need to exploit any of them, we should stop exploiting any of them.
Okay, and I mean, just I'm arguing the moral point of every animal that we eat and we farm, they wouldn't exist if we didn't farm them. So
Okay,
all
wouldn't
the
it be better? Wouldn't it be better, Frying Pan? Like, look at this from if you were in their shoes. If you were bred into existence to live for, I don't know, 18 months, and then your life was taken, and of course that's not painful, and it's not painless, and it's scary, and it's torturous, and a lot of times the animals that are being like they're not being treated well until they get to your plate, right? So would you rather not exist at all or suffer your whole life in
well,
these conditions that these animals live in?
I'll just say I think there are a lot of bad farmers and a lot of bad farms, but I personally grew up on a beef farm. We had cattle, and every farmer
Okay,
loves
and
his
again,
animals.
we've
And we
addressed
gave
this,
those we
Frying
gave those
Pan.
cows a
Frying
great
Pan.
life, and they
Frying
wouldn't have
Pan, we've
existed if we
addressed
didn't eat
this.
them.
Frying Pan, we have addressed this. If I give you a really nice life, does that give me the right to take your life to consume your flesh? It's almost worse.
If I
It's
mean,
almost worse that they've had a really beautiful life. They've had a really nice life, and then you cut it short to eat them.
I
It's
would
almost
personally
worse.
rather that have some life than no life at all, because all these farmed animals
You'd
exist
rather
to
have
be eaten.
you'd rather have 18 months of life before somebody takes you into a slaughterhouse where you can smell the blood of your friends and family until they slit your throat and let you hang there while the blood drains out of your body. You would much rather have that than nothing at all.
I don't think you're thinking about it fairly, because these animals don't know that that's happening to them.
Yes,
They
they do,
enjoy.
Frying Pan. Yes, they do.
They know that they're on a
They
farm.
they feel, they can sense that they are going somewhere. They can smell the blood. They can feel fear. They try to run away. They know what's happening.
Do you think life is better for the animals out in the wild? I mean, it's terrible for them.
It
They
doesn't
get eaten
matter.
alive.
Veganism is not a welfarist movement. It's still wrong to take someone's life, whether they're in the wild or they're on a nice farm. If I walked into your really nice house and I took your life in the middle of the night, it would still suck for you, Frying Pan.
Hello? What happened?
I'm just hoping it's sinking in.
Hopefully he's having a little
Oh,
moment.
he left.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, I never understand they don't know, because if I had dogs that I used in dog fighting and the only life they knew was sitting in cages in my basement, it wouldn't make it okay, right?
I want to correct something I said as well. When I said that normal tofu has more calcium than milk, it can do in some circumstances, but it has at least as much generally, like percentage wise, per 100 grams.
Sorry, Keith and Ozark, I didn't see you guys in there.
Oh, it's all good. And Persona, kudos to your personal accountability and correcting that. Thank you.
Never speak incorrectly of tofu ever again.
No, I'm just glad that somebody keeps themselves honest. It's not, I mean, I know we do, but it's not a common trait amongst many people.
Well, I'm eating chips, so I'm not a good example of a healthy plant-based diet right now, so I'm going to mute myself. Sorry, everyone here's American. I'm eating fries.
What kind of chip? I was gonna say what kind of chips.
Bessie, but I think you say fries as well.
Wait, so are fries in the US called chips in the UK?
What you call fries are generally called chips. We do have some
Yeah.
chips that are a bit more well that are called fries sometimes, like at McDonald's or whatever.
That's wild.
Fish and chips.
And then crisps are what you call.
Mad Carter, how old are you?
I'm 18.
What year were you born?
2006.
Okay. Do you understand what veganism is?
I understand it. I don't agree with it.
Say it again. Well, what is it? So, like, to you, what do you think veganism is, and why do you disagree with it?
Where that every animal matters and that it shouldn't be killed or taken advantage of.
So, it's more like we shouldn't exploit others, right?
Right. So
Do you
the thing
understand what exploitation is?
I'm plenty aware of it.
Yeah, the reason why we're asking is because we just want to make sure we're all on the same page before the conversation goes on, and we're not arguing like misconceptions or anything like that. So, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Exploitation is unfairly using somebody else for your own benefit. So, do you understand that?
Yeah.
So, why do you disagree with veganism then if it's an anti-exploitation movement? When we don't need to exploit these other animals.
Well, technically we do.
Do you
'Cause
mind
everything that we
elaborating?
have and currently own has come from some part of an animal, like the clothes you're wearing, half leather, by the way.
I don't wear leather or wool.
What I'm saying is the clothes you're currently wearing comes from an animal, like
What?
sheep. That's
No,
fabric.
that's wool, and vegans don't consume wool or leather or any other animal
Wool
products.
constitutes about
You can't
wool,
eat.
wool constitutes about 3% or less of the total like clothing textile fabrics in the world, by the way. So
But
most
you're
people
on,
are not
you're on
wearing
about exploiting different animals and whatnot. Yet you're sat there wearing a part of an animal.
No, see, you're sitting here and you're making an assumption when I'm specifically telling you I don't consume wool, I don't consume leather. None of the products I have any of that in it, and I
can't
don't consume animal products.
It's not an edible.
What?
You can't consume wool or leather. It's not an edible.
The word consume doesn't entail only like consumptive practices doesn't only entail putting it in your mouth. Consumption of things can entail more than just that.
Yeah, like content you watch on the news, you're consuming media. You know, it's not just applicable to what we eat.
Damn it, my phone died.
I mean, you're still talking. It seems like your battery's charged. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Did he run?
He said his phone died.
Damn it, my phone died. For some reason, I'm still connected to the live. How strange.
My house just got on fire. Be right back.
How do I turn on my camera to troll you? How do I turn on my camera?
My power just went out. I guess that doesn't work, does it?
I guessed. We got our runner, folks. Oh God, I don't want to pull you up. It says you're drunk.
The satellite providing 5G internet to my phone just went out, guys. Sorry.
I'm not sure if this is the correct word, but like I want to use the word pretentious to assume what others are like consuming to win an argument. I don't know if that's the correct word, but whatever that was, I hate when people do it.
I see you eat your. Sorry, I haven't actually left yet. I'm trying to get ready to go out. But eating veggies gets it so much. Like, what's your hat made of? What's that jacket made of? I don't know why she gets it so much more than every other vegan TikToker. She gets that all the time. Like presumptions of consumption. Presumption of consumption. We can call it that.
You're all hypocrites because you're eating animals right now. Like, what?
Well, there's 28 viewers in this live, so if you want to tell us why we're wrong and get owned, please request the box.
Yeah, I mean the chat's definitely popping with rhetoric, like anti-vegan rhetoric. So
Technically, it's not vegan to own people, Desi. Okay.
Yeah, well, I can't be perfect. Alex, I won't chat with you because you won't have a relevant conversation. You were in Personas Live for like 25 minutes and you didn't track any conversation. Boring.
Desi, that's an appeal to not being perfect. Gonna need you to work on that.
Yeah, sorry.
it's so crazy how many times I hear these like Keith, what you just mentioned about not being perfect, like in a Reddit debate earlier, somebody said, well, I thought it's not about being perfect when I was explaining the difference between exploitation and like defending your crops and like how harm's inevitable.
People be struggling.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. Should I change the background to animals aren't ingredients? That tends to trigger people a lot.
Do it. Ozark, do you go on Reddit for the anti-vegan debates and content? Because I've tried that once and it was definitely a dark, dark place.
Yes, I do, and it is very, very frustrating.
It's definitely worse on Facebook, I would say. But yeah,
I don't consume Facebook, so I don't know.
Understandable. I just the groups that exist on there are like infinitely worse, I would say. The amount of just conceived bullshit that they put out is astronomical.
I had somebody to
One
say
guy,
something.
there's
Oh,
this
go ahead,
one,
sorry.
he's literally insane. His sentiment is like, veganism isn't valid because the majority of the world is currently not vegan, meaning the majority of the labor work producing the majority of the things in the world, because they're not vegan, that automatically means that they win. Just like, what?
Dude, that's literally Reddit.
Okay. Fair. It's just
I
funny.
did consult with ChatGPT yesterday about that dude's use of Axiom, just to entertain myself. And
Oh,
ChatGPT wanted to like actually debate me, like using like the rhetoric I described, and did a really good job on mimicking what that guy was saying. And then at the end explained like how our obviously, I mean, no doubt our logic against that was like completely logical, but like how improper like such a use of the word axiom was.
Yeah. Again, like axioms are for like very baseline core fundamentals that are like easily accepted basically by everyone, like A equals A, like, same equals same kind of thing, like very, very like basic things, not a general feeling that's ascribed from like a multitude of very complex emotions and things like this. Like, that's not an axiom. Like,
Yeah, and it was ironic because Chat even mentioned like that dude accused us of appealing to emotion, but his whole appeal was to emotion.
yeah, exactly. That was, I pointed that out to him. He didn't care. He was like, no, okay. Definitely is, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you were around for that Christopher guy. I know Sebastian and Desi was on Sebastian's live, but he did end up reaching out to me for those resources, and then after reading them, asked me again for Challenge 22 because he said he was going to sign up. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, nice. We have a request. Nope, no, we don't. We had one.
Yeah, I saw that. I was looking at their profile. I'm gonna take a look at. Oh, this is.
Any of you guys watch that Sequest show on Adult Swim, like in the early mid 2000s?
Yeesh. It's been a while, but yeah.
Was it C Lab or Sequest?
I think
C Lab 2020. Wait, is C Lab 2021 or C Lab 2001?
Something like that. I think it was 2021 or 2024 or whatever. But regardless, like watching Sebastian be on here and then watching him chat in the comments just reminds me of Bizarro World. I don't know why.
Hello?
Zell, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
How old are you?
19.
All right. Do you know what veganism is?
I think so.
Why don't you explain what you think it is? We will correct it to make sure we're on the same page if you're incorrect.
It's just not like consuming any animal products.
So that's like the that's what we do, but veganism itself is a philosophy and a way of living that aims to exclude all forms of exploitation of sentient beings. So do you understand
Hmm.
before we move on?
Yeah.
Do you understand what exploitation is?
Here, you should explain it real quick.
So exploitation is unfairly using somebody else to your own benefit.
Okay.
So now that we're on the same page, are you vegan? If not, why not?
I am not vegan because when I go to a store, the animals are already dead.
Yeah. Do you understand how supply and demand works?
Yeah.
So when you go to
But
the store, every time you make a purchase, you are paying for another animal to be unalived for consumption because you are paying for that demand.
no, because they have to produce like millions. So like even 10,000 sales won't affect them.
Every time you consume an animal, that requires an animal to be unalive. Like there's no way to avoid that. So you're literally paying for an animal to be unalived for you to consume. So you are very much part of the process and perpetuating that exploitation.
Do you know what a forecast is?
Yeah, but go ahead and explain what your what the relevance is.
Okay, so they have to look at like last year's sales to determine this year's production.
Yeah, they do. And what affects last year's sales?
Yeah, I mean, this is short term. Like this doesn't analyze at all the long term, and that's
No,
what
because when you're dealing with $1 million
this is
factories that have to produce millions of animals,
Zell, do you honestly think that the same amount of animal products would be produced in a world where, say, 20% where 20% of the world is vegan, 30%, 40%? Do you think in these higher ratioed amounts that is going to be still the same exact amount of animal products being produced?
well, 20% isn't the same as just me, or even like 10,000
Well,
people.
no shit. But how do we get there?
By reducing the demand, right? And the demand comes from the individuals going out and making the purchases.
Right, but I'm saying I'm not gonna like, even me and 10,000 people still aren't changing anything.
Yeah, but you and up to a certain, eventually up to a certain point will change.
Well, that's actually not
So
true
what you're doing here is you're appealing to futility. You're saying, I'm not going to make a difference, therefore my actions do not matter. When they very much do, both to the supply chain and to the victim involved.
well, they don't, because even like there's even less vegans every second because
No, there's
more
actually
families
more
give birth
vegans.
to people who aren't vegan.
There's
Yeah,
actually
so
the
in the
population
time,
of
sorry, go ahead. In the time that I'll just say this quickly. In the time we've been talking, so I opened up an app. In the last 40 seconds, over 1.2 million fish have been killed, 85,000 chickens, 2,000 pigs. Like, do you understand that this number would go down every time someone chooses to be vegan because there would be less demand?
Only if you can prove that every year more vegans happen, then
There
people
is
are
proof.
vegan.
The movement grows every year.
That's
Yeah,
not true. You have to look at their sales. Show me their sales. Show me their sales increasing.
Statistically, the amount of vegans increases every year. So you're wrong, like
Okay, give
factually.
me a source. Give me a source.
Dude, you can just go type it into your search engine right now.
Okay, but just because there's more vegans every year doesn't
You
mean
just
like
said you
you're
just said that
still.
they were reducing though.
Wait, what?
You just said that the amount of vegans are reducing.
No, I said just because, like hypothetically.
Okay, I think I know where you're going to be going with that. The dairy industry is actually starting to shrink because people are choosing plant-based options because of supply and demand.
Okay, but that's just dairy.
That's still part of animal agriculture.
But that's just dairy.
So
It's still
just for your
all-
reference, the sign up for the Veganuary campaign where people eat vegan for the month of January, which just so that we're on the same page, veganism is not a diet, hit record highs in 2022 with over 700,000 people signing up from almost every country in the world. And for your reference, this year, over 2 million people signed up to participate in 2025.
Wait, so that's people signing up to go vegan?
That's people who have expressed interest in a campaign that has people practice a plant-based diet for the month of January. On average, about 35% of people are staying on the diet following the campaign.
Okay, so just because you convert 10,000 people to veganism, there can still be like 100,000 people that are born into non-vegan families. And then there can still be 5,000.
That's still an appeal to
generations.
futility fallacy.
Listen, can I finish? Can I finish? There can still be like 5,000 teenagers who decide they're gonna bulk up and eat more meat. So you have to actually show me their sales
Zell,
decreasing.
younger generations are predominantly more likely to be vegan than older generations.
Okay, but none of that is
Yeah,
relevant.
Zell, let me ask you a question, just so we can move on from this whole like economics aspect. If you open a business and you start selling a product, and you're making a lot of money, and then somebody opens up a business with a comparable product, you know, that's more ethical, and people stop buying your products and start buying the other products, are you going to continue to waste your money producing those products?
I mean, if I'm Tyson freaking.
No,
if
I'm asking in this specific example.
Well, that example isn't the same as $1 million company.
It's a simple question, right? You start losing money on the product that you are producing because people start buying other products. Is the incentive to still continue to produce that product or start supplying the other products in order to
If I'm still making good money, if I'm still making good money, yeah.
No, you're losing money. Stop shifting the goalpost. I'm giving you a specific circumstance, right? That's very applicable to supply and demand. And you're doing everything you can to avoid answering the
This
question.
only applies to like a small restaurant, though. This isn't, you're not understanding that. Like,
I'm asking a simple question. Why is it so hard for you to answer?
Okay, re-ask it real quick.
If you have a business and you're producing a product, hold on one second.
Oh.
If you have a business and you're producing a product and you see a downward trend in the sales of that product and you are losing money by continuing to produce that product, do you continue to produce that product?
No.
Thank you. It was a simple question, and that's how basic supply and demand works, right? So what you're doing is you're appealing to futility and you're not factoring in all of the other factors like billions of dollars of government subsidies that go into animal agriculture, including companies like Tyson, that the taxpayers have to fund to keep going, right? If you remove all of that, those companies would likely go bankrupt just from the cost of raising the animals alone. But if more people are becoming plant-based, that's also going to affect those companies. That's how supply and demand works.
Okay, but again, there's
no again. That's how supply and demand works, right? You, the consumer, participate in that cycle.
Okay, again, they produce X amount based off sales from last year or last
And
month or
what
whatever.
affects sales from last year? You still didn't answer that when I asked.
Millions of people buying.
Yeah, people purchasing, right?
Millions.
It
Not
doesn't
me.
matter. It's
Not
still
me. Not
people. It's still
10,000. Not
individual.
100,000.
It's
This is
still
again. This
individual
is
people going and
this is
purchasing.
yeah. Ozark already went over this. This is an appeal to futility fallacy. This has
Not
nothing to
when you're
do.
dealing with not when you're dealing with production in the millions.
So yeah, Zell. So this is why we have like modeling to look at future predictions for movements like veganism. So like we have predictions for like out to like the year 2100, right? So 75 years from now, like at the absolute lowest estimates, like the predicted amount of people that would be vegan by then is likely to be somewhere in the realm of 15 to 20% at the absolute lowest. The moderate range is 40 to 60%, and then the higher range is like 60 to 80%. And it all just depends on certain like products becoming available on the market as new innovations happen, and a few other things and other paradigms surrounding possible government incentives and climate incentives and all kinds of things that could happen. The point is, you're making a prediction based off of some nonsense that is to do with the current climate. It has to do with making like these estimates don't happen if individuals don't make the change. You are an individual who is intended to be part of that change. If you choose not to be, then you're just willfully ignoring it, and again making an appeal to futility fallacy. This has nothing to do with the predictions that are ahead of us in time.
All right. Well, I'm gonna need a source on that 40 to 60% thingy majingy you just mentioned.
I'm gonna try a separate example, like using similar logic. And before I go into this, for you and the audience, I understand that the two are not the same thing, but they are both forms of exploitation, right? So is the fact that child abuse is still prevalent a justification for people to individually abuse children, because not everybody is going to stop abusing those children, right?
Okay.
No, I'm asking, do you think that that justifies you individually abusing a child?
No.
Okay, so it's the same concept. Just because other people are still potentially going to be going and paying for other animals to be unalived for them to consume doesn't mean that you don't have to, or that you have to do that. You can
Okay,
make
so
a
me
decision to
me
not do
punching a
that.
child in the face isn't the same as buying an already dead animal.
You're paying for that animal to be dead. Like, I don't
No,
know
because
why this
it
is
was already
so hard.
determined that that animal would be
No,
killed
okay, no,
last year.
no, dude, you're just making this up. Like, that's not
How
how
do you know?
economics
How am I
works.
making this up? They have to
That's
raise
not
the
how
animals.
economics
They
works,
have to
dude.
raise X amount
That's
of
not
animals
how economics
based on
work.
production, buddy.
That's not how economics work.
If you buy
That is literally how it works. You have to raise the
if you
animals.
buy
You have to look at your sales. You have to
Zell,
determine how many sales you're going to
Zell,
get this year and next year.
And that's based on the consumer buying.
Zell, if you buy
And that consumer bind or whatever,
Please
I'm
stop.
not influencing.
Zell, if you buy 365 rotisserie chickens from Costco last year, that will transfer over to the year after. So even if this is your sentiment, you are carrying that capacity over to the next year. They are looking at the profit margin that they gain from their rotisserie chicken sales. Each one of those was an entire bird. So they would go, oh, looks like we have sold 365 rotisserie chickens this year from this particular individual. Like if they were to analyze it on that scale, obviously they don't. They look at the total volume. But if you add 365 rotisserie chickens to the total volume, that's the volume they look at, and that's what they then predict for the next year after that. So that's not how this works. It still comes down to the individual making a choice to do or not do something.
Well, they also probably overproduce.
So, like you understand, like your logic
No,
is
hold
like,
on, real quick, Ozark. If they overproduce by a percentage. So they would look at the total amount that was purchased last year, and then if they do an overproduction, it would be a percentage over the current, like the margin, right? So like, let's say they, just as a number, they super basic here, they sold 100 last year, and then the next year after that, they only sold 75. Well, the overestimate that they made for the 100 was maybe by like 5%. So they made like 105 rotisserie chickens, but only 100 of them sold. And then the next year, when they see that they sold only 75 altogether, the amount that they would produce over that would be again about 5%. So maybe like 78 rotisserie chickens produced. So
Okay.
yes, they would produce the same amount for the next year in the expectation of what was sold the year prior with a percentage oversight, but that's still going to net reduce if the amount of people purchasing is coming down and down and down.
Okay, so all your examples were extremely like significant. Okay, what I'm saying is if you produce millions, 10,000 isn't gonna make a difference.
Zell,
Obviously, 175 is
Zell,
different.
how
But a
do we
million and
make
like
how do we
10,000
make
is,
how do we get more people to do something?
I don't know, go on TikTok Live.
Yes, by getting people to participate, right? If we never have people participate, then yes, those numbers don't come down. So does each voice matter when it comes to making a change?
Once you have like a significant amount.
Okay, so the abolitionists in 1688, the Quakers, when they were at less than 1% of the accepted population that was for the ending of slavery, and they were making that stride to end this, and then they came up to other people to talk to them about it. You're saying that the individuals that did make the choice, despite being a very small portion of that population, did not matter to the overall movement in terms of pushing it forward.
Well, I'm sure people are way more sympathetic towards like slaves versus like animal
I'm aware of that. I'm making a point about how we move things forward in time. It took from 1688 until the 1860s to have the starting point in America of like the inception of ending slavery to actually getting to that point. So it takes a long time. These things don't happen overnight. We're aware of that. These things have to build momentum. The only way they build momentum is individuals making the choice to say no more.
Okay, well, how do you even?
You're imagining this magical scenario where somehow movements magically go from 1% to 25% overnight just because people went, oh, okay, I get it now, and then suddenly there's just 25% of the population who fucking magically gets it. No, one individual makes a choice, the next individual makes a choice, it goes on, and the more people that you have around influencing that particular movement, the more people get influenced by it.
Okay, well, can you prove that like within the past years, sales have actually gone down, and in the future, there's actually going to be a lot of people vegan?
Yes.
Because I can argue, you know, like with, I don't know, like technology growing and advancing, there's just going to be even more production.
There's Stanford research on this. There's Faunalytics.
Let me see some.
I gave you one example too, like the dairy industry I used as a good example.
All right, well, you need to give me a source. It's your burden of proof.
And any like either way, again, like we literally have the ability to even like provide statistics on this. But would it have mattered in 1688 that they couldn't provide statistics that they could promise that by the 1860s they were going to end slavery? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
It kind of does though, because
again,
slavery isn't the same as animals. And again, technology is advancing. You know,
It's
chefs
only
are trying to get
different
better.
because of an arbitrary line that you're drawing. Like that's the only.
All right, well, I'm gonna need to see some sources.
See some sources. I will provide you sources after you provide me a source that veganism is on a decline.
Well, no, it's your burden of proof. It's your burden of proof.
You initially made that claim and didn't provide me source.
No, it's your burden of proof.
What, that veganism is on a decline?
Yep.
You made the claim. It's your burden.
No, I said you have to prove it for me to go vegan. You're the one trying to convince me to go vegan.
Oh, Jesus Christ, what a dishonest piece of shit. So, like, what are we going to prove when you...
I just said that sales are declining.
Keith just said to you in 1686, did you say, Keith?
1688.
1688, I apologize. that we're not going to be able. They weren't going to provide statistics to say this is morally right. It's just morally right for various logical reasons.
Okay, but okay, slavery the same
And
as
so obviously
veganism.
we can't provide statistics that enslaving animals is wrong. We can just discuss morality. So are you actually willing to do that, or are you going to?
How am I enslaving the animals?
Are you going to discuss this?
Where am I right now? Am I in my house or am I at a meat production factory killing animals? Where am I?
You can't even answer that question. Are you willing to have a moral discussion about the situation?
Well, yeah, that's why I joined up.
Yeah, not a financial discussion.
Okay, they literally are about the same thing.
I'm shutting up now. I'm just really frustrated with you.
They're literally about the same thing. It's about making a difference. I'm claiming I'm not making a difference because they're already dead.
So again, you already said that like you don't think that people should abuse children, and you wouldn't, even though it's still relevant.
Because
and likely
the children
won't
isn't
stop for
already
a long
abused.
time. What?
The child isn't already abused. Like the animal is already dead.
You're really like avoiding.
I'm just going there. Zell, at this point, what's the morally relevant difference between non-human animals and human animals? Where if we were to remove or add a trait to a human in the exact same way, you're currently okay with exploiting animals?
I'm not okay with it. I'm just saying it's already happening.
Okay, but so you're not okay with it?
Yeah, but it's already happening. There's nothing I can do about it.
Okay, so you would consume in the situation then if there was a human meat market, you would participate in that?
I'd probably just stick with animals.
So again, there's no animal meat market. The meat market that exists is a human meat market. Are you okay with that?
Well, I'd probably be brainwashed into thinking it's okay.
So you're saying that you're brainwashed?
Maybe I am, but again, it's already happening.
You're just totally deflecting personal accountability, dude. You're being
dude, because these analogies are not the same.
No, that's how hypotheticals work, dude. That's how you test.
No, these are terrible analogies. I'm not gonna go kill someone, and then we won't even have anyone.
But you're literally paying for it to happen. Do you think somebody should be?
I'm not paying for it to happen, bro. The production is already decided.
Zell, what happens to somebody if they pay for a hitman?
And you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? You know what's
I'm
crazy?
asking. Answer the question.
I've asked for sources like 30 times, and I haven't gotten a single.
Zell, what happens to somebody when they pay for a hitman? If you're talking, your microphone's muted.
I don't know how that happened. Okay. What were you saying?
What happens when somebody pays for a hitman?
These aren't fair comparisons because a hitman isn't killing.
Why isn't it fair? We're talking about
they're
paying
not
for
killing millions of people every year
versus paying for the death.
They don't have to overproduce. They don't have to overkill.
I mean, Zell, again, like
they don't give discounts.
I made this point about the human meat market, and then you said I'm not the one, or like, you know, I wouldn't like be killing them. It's like, no, it's the same thing as the animal industry. You're not killing them. You're paying someone else to do it. So are you okay with this or not okay with it?
How is a predetermined amount of production me killing them?
That's what I'm saying. That's the same thing here in the human example that I'm
No, bro, because you have to prove that their sales are going down.
No,
and you haven't done that.
I'm talking about I'm not talking about any of that right now. I'm talking about the human meat industry. I was talking about in this hypothetical. You're not the one killing them. You're just giving the green light, the thumbs up. You're brainwashed, whatever. So again, it's the same thing as the animal thing, right? And humans are dying, losing their lives for food production to turn them into meat. You're okay with this, right?
I don't know why it keeps muting me.
He didn't mute you. I muted you because you were talking over him and being ridiculous.
Oh, whoops.
Answer his question.
Well, I was, but you muted me. Where would you like?
So, were you answering his question or were you talking over him? Because you should be able to remember his question if you were answering
I was
it.
pointing out how the question was like terrible.
Oh, of course you were.
Can you just give me like a source that sales are decreasing? Because that's only relevant.
Oh my god.
See you.
I need a source to be a morally
Whether or
upright
not there is a source to say that sales have decreased, it's a fallible option, or it's a fallible way to prove that people are vegan because more people are consuming more meat every day, right? That makes
I was
sense?
trying to spam the box with sources, but every source I had that I copy pasted was too big for the text.
Yeah.
I would also go out on a limb and say he wouldn't even read the sources.
So Zell, I would strongly suggest because you've requested backup again, I'm not going to let you back up. Literally go to DeepSeek or ChatGPT and type in, is the vegan movement growing?
Yeah, you can also do a simple Google search requesting data on the decline of the dairy industry, and there are like an abundance of different sources of data that come up.
Hi, Rye. Can we get your age, please? Okay, bye.
Someone coming up and making a claim and then saying the burden of proof is on somebody else is wild.
Yeah. All right, let's put the crypt keeper background back up.
And we literally do have sources like if you actually want them, like Ozark has them, I have them. Like Statista, there's Media Market US, there's Good Food Institute, there's Strategic Market Research. There's all these things put together that all point in the exact same direction, that the growth is upward, not downward. Like it's just funny to come up here with like an economic stance without looking up the economic stance that you're trying to battle. Like it'd be one thing if you came up like, yeah, it's not working, and here's evidence as to why it's not working. Because like this is your confounding argument that you are basing your entire principles on, is that it was not growing. But the growth trend, the vegan population has been growing steadily at a rate of 10.15% to 14.3% annually. Okay, and the projections by 2030, the vegan population is expected to surpass, in like the U.S. alone, 10 to 14% of the U.S. population. So, yeah, we're not like, yeah, potentially there could be certain countries where it's less, or other situations where it's less. It's going to be likely even higher in places like the UK. The point is, you're standing in the way of change being possible. Every single individual matters in these kinds of movements, because it's a very unique kind of movement, right? When it comes to, say, like demanding green energy, right? It's not really practicable for the average everyday person to, be able to outfit like solar panels and like wind turbines and other forms of green energy to power their home or their car. Like these are very hard things to implement for the individual person. Whereas going to the grocery market or picking out a new beauty product or a new pair of clothing and choosing to do that with a vegan option is extremely practical. Anyone can do that for the most part, except for, some people in certain, intense situations, I suppose. But yeah, you're comparing like apples to oranges in terms of the consumer's direct ability to change things.
Well, even so, like the consumer's direct ability to change things, like that's predicted in the predictions that are being made for like the future sales. Like they're going to decline if people stop buying. I don't know how that's so hard. It's not like people are going to stop buying and those predictions are still going to remain the same or increase. Like it's just wild. And then like a complete lack of accountability as well.
Yep.
But,
it's crazy.
Hi, New. I sent you an invitation to unmute. How old
Hi.
are you?
I'm 18 years old, 2006.
Okay. Can you tell us what your understanding of veganism is?
Well, yeah, I think vegans, they have this worldview of to not cause harm to other animals and not to enslave them. I guess that's the word you guys use.
I'll run through the definition, and then someone on the panel might want to chat with you. So,
Sure.
sorry, veganism is a social justice movement which seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable the cruelty and exploitation to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. So outside of our diet, we also wouldn't wear leather, attend zoos, or buy cosmetics that have been tested on animals.
Okay, gotcha. Um,
Do you understand what exploitation is?
well, yeah, like I guess exploiting like the animals for their meat.
Yeah, so I just so we're clear in the or rest of the discussion, so you have a more thorough understanding, it's unfairly using somebody else to your own benefit or your own gain. So does that make sense when we use the term exploitation now?
Yeah, makes sense.
Sweet. So are you vegan? And if not, why not?
Well, I'm not vegan, and the reason I guess I do consume meat products is because I do like because one, I do enjoy the taste, and two, I think it is pretty beneficial to the health, to my health, and just because protein products, meat, or I guess like any type of meat, does have a faster, more efficient way of consuming all the nutrients I need as compared to eating an alternative plant option.
Sure. So I understand why you might feel that way. And I do need to preface that most of us here that are vegan we're not born vegan, and we did not become vegan because we didn't enjoy the taste of consuming animals. So I want to just make that clear. But when it comes down to the protein and the bioavailability, I do understand the concern. But there is like an abundance of recent research that has shown that people that are consuming plant-based proteins build the same amount of muscle as people that are consuming animal-based proteins. So, like that being the case with the data available, it's an incorrect assumption, and I'm not saying it to be insulting, but it's just an incorrect assumption to conclude that you can't get the correct protein or similar results from plant-based protein versus animal-inclusive protein. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I just have like a similar question regarding this. Is it true that for the same, I guess I don't know how you would measure this, but I guess like for the same amount of a certain vegetable, and then on the other end of the table you have the same amount of meat. Like to compare those two, you would get like more protein or more nutritious nutritious facts that from that the same amount of meat. Like it would be a more efficient way of intaking
So
nutrients.
yeah, I get it. Not necessarily, right? So, I mean, there's definitely certain vegetables that we can eat in comparable weight of the animal that we're eating where it might not be the same. But I mean, like with caloric dense foods that provide a lot of nutrition, you can mix and match. And there are also some foods such as certain legumes that are also complete protein profiles. You have to understand just because a product such as animals is nutrient dense doesn't mean you're getting all of the nutrients from that. It just means you're getting a lot of some nutrients. You can still become extremely deficient off of just consuming animals alone, just like you could become deficient off of consuming like a loaf of bread and a gallon of vegetable oil for your meal daily. You understand?
Yeah,
Our
I
body
gotcha.
does a good job at mix and matching amino acid sources, such as like mixing beans and rice, but they also have like the additional fiber and a bunch of micronutrients in them as well, and then different forms of or different vegetables that you can add into your diet as well. You can get adequate nutrition on a plant-based diet, and this has actually been concluded by the American Dietetics Association, which is like the largest governing body of nutrition in the United States.
Okay, I see.
Yep.
Cool.
So if we can determine that nutrition wouldn't be a roadblock for you and your health could potentially be positively impacted on a plant-based diet, is that something that you would consider looking into?
Well, yeah, actually, you know what? Like I've been to, I personally I am not against veganism, like the idea of it. I've been to vegan restaurants. I've bought or I've tried, I guess. I've tried a vegan alternative, patties and stuff like that. But I guess like I would, be perfectly happy if my family, invited me to go out and to a vegan restaurant. I would have no, contestant against that or anything like that. But I guess for me it's just like I don't know if personally I would prefer to go full time for me myself because um it's just the way I've been brought up, and my like lifestyle in general is just especially when I'm out or like when I'm at home, just only so little options, so it does get in the way of convenience as well because even now like veganism is getting more popular day by day, but at the grocery store and in restaurants and stuff like that, like I think it is still more, it's still not as easy to access every
So,
So,
day.
so
oh, go ahead, Desi.
sorry, I'm just gonna ask you what you think like my dinner is going to be tonight. Just like if you could think of anything I might cook for dinner tonight.
Okay, maybe like tofu or salad or something like that.
Yeah, so tofu is definitely something that we would utilize. But generally, things that we would cook with for like a whole foods meal. And I'm glad you didn't say impossible meat because I think that that's what people kind of assume. But tofu is not the only way we get protein. So for tonight's dinner, I'm probably going to end up having like a Caesar salad wrap for my protein. In that wrap, I will put chickpeas and soy crumbles, and then I have like a plant-based Caesar dressing that I'll put on top of there, and I'll probably make it with spinach. I also have some sweet potatoes that I need to use at home, so I'll probably make some sweet potato fries. I generally don't even eat salad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just want to
Yeah.
mention too, like if alternatives are something that like you might need to transition away from consuming animals, like there's an abundance of resources out there that can teach you how to make them for pennies on the dollar at home, and it's not really that time consuming either. Just using the ingredients that are in the store-bought products. But it's important to understand that veganism isn't a diet. I wanted to address the health concerns first, just so we can move into the ethical part of that. And that's what I really want to discuss with you is the ethics.
Yeah, same, I agree.
Yep. So, if consuming animals or taking the life of somebody to consume is unnecessary, what is the justification to continue doing it?
Well, I guess for me it's more like I believe on the to humans, to us in general, like something has to survive to they have to be valuable to contribute to society in some shape, some form or shape. And also just like the way that us as humans we see farm animals, chickens, pigs, or cows, generally they don't really serve a purpose other than their value to their meat, being
I want to
consumed.
pause and I want you to pick one of those and decide what you want to discuss first, because if you list too many, it gets hard to kind of address each issue individually. So if you don't mind, elaborate on one and then we can tackle that first.
Okay, sure. Yeah, maybe just like the moral value again, between moral value difference between humans and animals, maybe like farm animals, I mean.
Okay, yeah,
to be specific.
that's fine. What is specifically different between human animals versus non-human animals that makes it okay to exploit one and not the other?
Wait, sorry, to track you back, you meant the difference between humans and animals? What did you mean by human animals?
Well, are humans mammals?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so mammals are part of the animal kingdom. So humans are very much animals. We are primates,
Yeah.
part of the animal kingdom. So that's why I said, like, what's the moral difference between a human animal or a non-human animal that makes it okay to exploit one versus the other? Like, just any specific trait that makes it morally acceptable.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. I think the two traits I would say is, we are more intelligent and humans are also on the top of the food chain.
All right, so I'm going to address the food chain really quickly because that's going to be like the most simplest to address. Humans actually rate 2.3 out of 5 on the trophic scale, with lions being on top and plants being on the bottom. So we're definitely not on top of the food chain. I understand why you might think that way. It's something that people are incorrectly like assuming. But when it comes to intelligence, right, there are plenty of humans that don't have the mental faculties to, be able to function in society or contribute to in ways that you previously described. Do you think it would be okay to exploit them?
Well, I've actually been this is a great point you brought, because I was actually on another vegan live stream a couple days ago, and like the host or the co-host, I can't remember, brought the exact same question to me. And I would say, you mentioned the humans, maybe like vegetables, or like humans who were born with disabilities who can't function within society without the help of others. Well, I would say, exploiting them would be incorrect in our eyes, because they are still humans at the end of the day. They're still not part of us, but they're still the same species as us, and we can kind of still relate to them in a way, because they are still.
So then I just need to ask them. So the intelligence actually really doesn't matter. It's the species you belong to. Because I used your example in your trait, and then I applied it with humans, and then you said, well, in the case of humans, intelligence really isn't the case. It's because they're human.
I guess when I said intelligence, I was speaking more generally, because I would say generally, the majority of the population are, they are more intelligent than animals. The majority of population.
Sure, but I'm just using like examples, right? Like, so I'm using examples with intelligence, and what you're essentially implying is that it might not actually be intelligence; it's the species you belong to.
Yeah, that would
with
be
that
another.
intelligence. So
Yeah.
that's just an argument of like speciesism, right? Are you familiar with that term, speciesism?
No. Could you educate me on that?
Yeah, for sure. So speciesism is the unfounded assumption that humans are superior over other species, which leads to the exploitation of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So that's what speciesism is, and it is an arbitrary line that we are drawing as humans. Like, because you have to think of it, right? We are humans, and we are deciding the value of others. Nobody else is doing that. It's humans that are doing that. They're making the assumption that we are superior. Like, there's nobody else that can make that determination, right? I mean, maybe other animals can cognitively like make some sort of determination like that they deem their species like, they have preference to their own species, which is what we are doing. But that by no means actually indicates that we are somehow like superior to any other animal objectively, right? And when we look at these terms like speciesism, they're very comparable to a lot of the other isms that we have social justice movements against.
Yeah. I listened to everything you just said. But I guess I would argue that the main reason why us as humans think we are superior to most other animals is because if we look back on civilization and history, we as humans have progressed quite a lot in development and like all that sorts of other we've evolved pretty well, whereas like animals, they've pretty much stayed the same as they didn't really get more advanced, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas humans did.
You're a pro dog stomper.
What?
You're pro stomping on dogs.
Pro stomping?
Pro stomping, like you're okay with people just kicking dogs.
No. I have a dog.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sounds absurd when you like actually listen to that. But like, I guess what would the difference between me not needing to derive nutrition from a cow, but choosing to take that cow's life because I want to derive nutrition from that cow, versus me kicking a dog for exercise when I have other options. I can use the exercise as a justification because I want to in this circumstance, but
Well, yeah, maybe just like human biases against because dogs are pets, whereas cows are not.
Yeah,
sure,
bias
exactly.
isn't a rational. You can admit bias isn't a rational justification for taking advantage of someone over another.
Yeah, I guess to vegans it's unjust, but like to
No,
everybody
What
bias.
about
else,
to you
it's not.
specifically?
Literally, sorry, Ozark, just one sec.
No,
The
you're
con-
Persona. I apologize. Like I'm having trouble hearing you. That's why I talk
I
because
got a terrible mic. If my mic's not working, I'll just be quiet. I'm not
no,
too
no,
fast.
talk. I'll just try to be quiet and give you.
But if
Give
we're
you
gonna fall out over this, Ozark, I'm gonna block you. No, I'm joking. But the point is, right, like, just in the concept of a bias isn't a justification for isn't a justification for taking advantage of someone.
Well, like we place.
I prefer Keith over you, right? I prefer Ozark over you, even after our little fallout. And I'm not gonna use that as a reason to take advantage of you and not him if I don't have to take advantage of either of you.
Well, yeah, but would you agree that well, maybe not you specifically, but like us as the human species, we prioritize and place dogs on a higher moral value than pigs, for example.
Say that again.
So would you say, maybe not you specifically, but like us as the human species, we do prioritize and place dogs or
Not as
cats
a
on a.
species, but it's very like region and socially dependent based on like how you're raised and what goes on in your region. So like there are countries where they would never eat pigs, but they do eat dogs, or regions where they would like praise cows but take advantage of other animals in ways we would think immoral. Like that's not human dependent, but it wouldn't be relevant anyway if we can rationally determine that a bias like that isn't a reason to take advantage when we don't have to.
No, but would you agree that most households would have dogs as pets but not pigs in
No,
most regions of the world?
It would be region dependent. It would be based in culture.
So I said in most regions, like you can assume that most dogs are kept as
What would be
pets.
the relevance of that? Appeal to popularity? Like this is more popular, therefore it's okay.
Yeah, because most humans we prefer dogs,
Do you
right?
understand the irrationality of appeal to popularity? Slavery was popular in some regions.
But slavery doesn't occur anymore, right? It's been
Yes,
stopped.
slavery very much occurs, but when it did, it still occur. But when it did occur in are you American?
No, I'm Canadian.
Okay, so but at least when slavery was more popular in North America, just because it was popular didn't make it okay.
Well, yeah, I think because I think a lot of people stopped it because we see them. Slavery is the enslavement of other human species, which brings me back to my point of
Speciesism. Speciesism is the belief that one species is superior to others, often leading to the exploitation and harm of animals. Like racism, speciesism is based on arbitrary characteristics such as species membership.
Wait, so that's why we stopped it, right?
Which is what
Because
you're
they're
calling
humans.
for. Rather than inherent value or capacity, which is irrational. Sorry, such as species membership, which rather than inherent value or capacity, which is irrational. Both forms of oppression rely on unjust discrimination, capacity for suffering and moral consideration among all sentient beings.
Right? Would you say?
We're going back to where we were like 5 or 10 minutes ago, right?
Right. Right. So would you agree that's why we stopped slavery, because we see them as ourselves. They are humans.
Yeah, we saw them as individuals. They didn't have to be exactly the same as me. They just had to have their own experiences.
Well, yeah, and then we don't see farm animals as individuals.
Fortunately, we took steps like that to recognize their exploitation, but unfortunately, we did not take steps to extend that rationale to others.
Yeah, because slaves and like farm animals are different, right?
I described speciesism is the belief that one species is superior to others.
Yeah, most people
Leading to
would
the exploitation and harm of animals. It's based on arbitrary characteristics such as species membership, rather than inherent value or capacity. So you need to like provide some reason why it's okay to exploit one over the other, and personal bias, which is and popularity and culture aren't justifications for taking advantage of someone else.
Well, I mean, I think most people use them and take advantage of them because of their meat. what they bring to the
Yeah,
to
we
world.
understand why we do these things, like in the sense of what we want out of them, but that doesn't make it okay. We're asking for justifications why it's okay to use them in the first place, not what we get out of them.
It's okay because we need it. Like
No, we don't. That's the point there. We don't need it. We can just live off a plant-based diet if you're talking about food.
No, like you do know, like a lot of people depend on it, like jobs and stuff like that. Farmers, stuff like that.
Like slave owners, right?
Slave owners.
Yeah, they
We don't,
financially relied on that and got.
but we don't make like pigs work. We just kill them for food. We don't make them work, right?
Yeah, we exploit and oppress them, just like slaves.
No, it's just killing. We don't make
You
them
can
work.
interject, and then I'll let you go on again.
No, go on, Ozark. I'm done.
Oh, sorry. And by the way, I was apologizing for talking over you because I couldn't hear
I
you.
was teasing you there, Ozark. You always take me too seriously.
So, how do you pronounce
It's
your name?
Newt. Yeah, it's Newt. Yeah, people have trouble. Yeah, just call me Newt. It's fine.
All right. So, shit, I forgot my train of thought, and I feel like I just unnecessarily interjected. What did you say last? Sorry.
We were at the brick wall of him, like leading back around to speciesism and pointing towards arbitrary.
Thank you. I remember. So I wanted to go back to exploitation and make sure you understand what the definition of exploitation is, right? Because it's very relevant in both of these concepts. So it is to use somebody else unfairly to benefit or gain yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you agree that owning slaves is doing that?
Yeah, 100%.
Would you agree that taking the life of somebody to consume them is also doing that?
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, so you understand the difference. You're just, I have to assume you're just probably conditioned to kind of resist and not really accept it yet. But you've just agreed that, consuming animals, because they are sentient beings, which means they are individuals on their own, we're exploiting them, but also owning slaves is using another person to unfairly benefit yourself. Nobody's saying that they are the same, but they are both forms of exploitation. Like horseback riding is a form of exploitation. Like SA is a form of exploitation. Like there's different forms of exploitation, but they are all oppressive.
Yeah. So yeah, I understand your point about like the farm industry and also dating back to slavery. They are both forms of exploitation because they
They're
are
both
both.
bad, and there's a victim of all of them, and they don't have to happen. Right? Like if you're going to kill and take advantage of someone and exploit them, you need a good goddamn reason for that, and you haven't really provided that.
Yeah. Okay. So I understand what Ozark was saying about slavery and the farm industry is both forms of exploitation because they're both sentient beings. But I guess me and all the other meat eaters in the world think the difference lies is because we see we just like prefer or I guess we disagree with the enslavement of humans, whereas and also the enslavement of animals. Even though they're both sentients, we feel more comfortable with. We feel more comfortable with the enslavement of animals.
Some arbitrary feeling that isn't morally justifiable.
No, it's justified for us because we justify eating them. That's the reason.
No, I
it's
think
justified for
the
us.
issue
Maybe.
here is you're using an arbitrary reasoning as a justification, which isn't logically sound. Because we can take the line that you're drawing and we could draw that anywhere else, including like I can draw a line that I determine makes me superior over you and then start oppressing you if I'm capable of it. So you understand why it's not a good justification?
Well, the justification, like, would you agree that humans and pigs or cows are different? We're different species. Would you agree with that?
Would you agree that cows and pigs are different?
Yeah, of course.
Would you agree that a fish and a dog are different?
Yeah.
So every single species on the planet is extremely unique from the next.
Yeah.
Right? So that there's no difference there, right? We are definitely different from pigs and cows and every other animal as much as they are from us and each other, just like we are different from each other. I am different from you. You're different from Persona. Like everybody's different. We can use the same arbitrary reasoning to draw that line. Well, you're just this kind of different from me. to where it's okay for me to exploit you?
So I am different from you. We have different personal experiences, but we are both humans. We're under the human category, right?
Are you bald?
No.
I'm bald, and I think people that aren't bald are inferior to me.
Well, like that wouldn't be racism or any sorts. That wouldn't be speciesism, right?
But it's a form of discrimination, though, right?
Yeah. Wait, but so harming animals or killing animals isn't discrimination against
No,
them.
you're using species membership as your justification, right? And it's not just, you can't just be a species and therefore be granted a certain right. It's that there is something about your species that gives you.
Yeah. So
What is,
so
you can't just keep saying you are human. You've got to say, what is it about humans?
Well, he already expressed intelligence, and I used intelligence when it came to regarding humans that lack intelligence. And then he said because they were part of the same species, intelligence didn't matter, which is a logical inconsistency. So do you have another potential trait that would hold up to this kind of scrutiny that determines that we can exploit non-human animals and that can't be applied to humans as well?
okay, maybe how humans are able to communicate with each other and we're brought up the same way, majority.
Well,
in
there's going to
general.
be individual humans that are incapable of communicating at all.
Right, so that's why I said like generally, so like the majority of the
Well,
population
no, I
can
mean
communicate.
this is like morals need to apply universally. So like otherwise, it's not truly a moral that you're like utilizing there, but rather tools of convenience for those in power. Like ethical consistency demands that we do not make arbitrary exceptions based on self-interest or species or social norms. Like that's why when we look at moral philosophy, whether it's human rights or animal rights, it always pushes for a universal applicable like stance rather than selective self-serving ethics.
Yeah, of course. But I guess like the outliers of the outliers you mentioned about the certain individuals who are not able to, who can't speak or who can't have a functioning brain, is it's those humans are they aren't generally they aren't contributing to society, right? So they don't have a job, they don't have they don't contribute to
There's
society
people
in
who
the
have all those cognitive faculties that are working that don't contribute to society. So like none of that matters either. Like again, this is being based off of like some goal of like some self-interest or like a species or a social norm. This has nothing to do with morals right now.
It's essentially you don't have a club membership, so I can exploit you.
Well, but I just personally, I just think animals are not on the same level as
You're just saying
Right, again,
lots
that's
of
just
times.
a self-interest or pointing to a species or social norms. Like the human thing, like when you quote humans, like it's circular reasoning when faced with this question, right? Because we're asking like what's the morally relevant difference between these species that makes it okay to exploit one and not the other? And then in your circular reasoning you say it's the species. Like that is the epitome of circular reasoning for that question. We can still explore that in a hypothetical because of the absurdism with circular reasoning. The only way to explore that is through an absurd hypothetical to see where your consistency maybe lies on that. It still isn't really a good answer, but to run through it in a bit of an absurd hypothetical. Let's say hypothetically you had a neighbor growing up, or maybe it's not even a neighbor, it could just be someone that's on the other side of the world, whatever. We'll maybe explore that in a little bit. But this person grew up and they had mental cognitive issues. Like they couldn't operate like most people. They had quintessentially the intelligence of like a pig, and they're going through life, and later in life they have a medical scare. They go to a clinic to be checked on, and while they're there they're analyzing this individual and they realize, holy shit, this is not a human being. They don't have human DNA. They don't have human organs. Like all their organs are completely different from like a normal human, and the DNA confirms that they're definitely not human, not just like a weird variant. They're just 100% not a human. They just happen to look like us. So this individual who has been treated with kindness and respect and fairness, just like any other human alongside us for 20 years of their life, is it now okay to just exploit them however we see fit just because they don't match the trait of Homo sapien?
No, because they still, you like you mentioned, they still look like a normal human being, right? It's just after testing the DNA they turn out not to be a human, but they still look like a normal human being.
Okay, so like now it becomes a question, like this is where the looks thing is also absurd, right? So if I add dog ears to this individual, is it okay to exploit them?
Dog ears, like how long they live?
No, dog ears, like on
Oh,
their
dog ears. I thought you said years. Okay.
yeah.
If you add dog ears to this individual,
Yeah.
and if you're asking me if that's okay to exploit this person,
Yeah, it's the same context, but now they have dog ears.
well then yeah, because we would know he's not a human being, right?
Well, no, I mean the entire time we just thought that he was a human being who had dog ears, or just ears that were, not look like the standard person.
No, but no human being has a dog ear, so we would know he's not a human being, right?
Well, no, I mean it could have just been a deformity.
Yeah, it's a hypothetical, you know.
Yeah, the point is like we could just keep adding like a number of physical traits to, or taking physical traits away from this individual to the point where they don't look like a quote unquote regular human. Because I mean, we have like people who are born with all kinds of malformities in their bodies where they don't look like your quote unquote standard human. There's all kinds of terrible like there's been children who are born with syndromes where their head is like 6 times larger than the normal human head. There's all kinds of like horrible deformities and things that can happen to an individual, and we don't base what we do in terms of treating them based on what they look like. We treat them with dignity based on a very simple fact that people pretend is not the fact, but it actually is the fact. It's a simple fact that they are a sentient being worthy of moral consideration.
Yeah, so I guess this is where we differ, whereas I don't see pigs as having a moral justification as a human with a big head deformity, right?
Right, but you haven't pointed out a trait difference as to why that would be.
Well, it's just like humans and pigs have different anatomies, right?
Okay, so again, that would make it okay to exploit the human who had different anatomy, right? I explained that individual had completely different organs from a normal human. Like, let's say they had human DNA, but now their organs are completely different from a human. Like, their anatomy is completely different on the inside.
Yeah, so then I guess it would, people would be able to exploit them, but me personally, I still wouldn't want to eat that
Wait, so
person.
it is okay to exploit that individual?
Yeah, but I just added on. But I just added on.
Wait,
I just added
Danny,
on.
let Keith address that because it's great.
Wait, hold on. I wasn't done talking yet. Hold on. But I just added on. I still wouldn't eat that person who has a different
You're okay
organ.
with exploiting them? Go on, Keith, if you want.
Yeah, what?
Wait, I can't really hear his mic. Could you speak up?
Yeah, so you're okay with exploiting a human being who is a human being but has the characteristics of an animal.
No, he said has an organ of an animal or something. Like he's not an actual human being. That's his scenario, right?
Humans have pig hearts.
No, I just changed it for you again. So like now they have human DNA, but their internal structures are completely different. Like their organs, the way that they are set up internally is different. But when they check their DNA, it's human DNA.
Then I still wouldn't, because I wouldn't know he has different organs, right? How would I know that?
Sorry, what?
Like, how would I know he has how would I know he has different organs?
Relevant testing has been done, and you've seen the documents to support it.
Yeah, I just want to mention too, like you're saying, like, how would you know that they have different organs? Like, when last time you've experienced life as another animal to understand how they actually perceive reality?
Well, they act different than humans, right?
But it
So they
doesn't
don't
matter.
talk.
Like, that doesn't determine like whether their perception of reality is any more or less valid than ours. That's just an assumption that you're making.
No, I know I know they experience reality. That's why they're living. That's why they move, right? But
Yeah,
I'm not, so I'm not
but
denying that, right?
yeah, I'm not saying that you're denying that. I'm saying, when's the last time you've experienced life as another animal to where you can determine that the way they experience reality is somehow less valid than yours?
No, it's not less valid. I'm not making that point, right?
You are, because you're saying it's okay to exploit them.
Yeah, but I exploit them. I know they still have a living. I know their living experience is still as valid as mine, but in my ideology, I can still exploit them.
There's a line, right? Like we can go down all these traits, and there'll be a cutoff point. Like if they had a different hairstyle, let them live. If they have a different skin color, let them live. If they have ears of a dog, maybe you're not so sure. If they have internal organs that are somehow differently structured, like let them be exploited. Do you see?
Well,
how
yeah.
silly-
So it's just so
you
going
see-
back.
so,
It's
so,
just
so
the
their
bias.
experience, but you see how silly these lines are, and they don't make sense. Whereas it would be make much more sense just to recognize that they are individuals with an experience.
No, I don't think animals are individuals. So this goes back to the human bias. I don't want to exploit other human beings, even if they
Just
have a
acknowledge that they were, though.
Team, do we feel that this is going anywhere?
Absolutely nowhere.
No.
like getting kicked.
Bye.
I chalk it up to young age, you know, and conditioning. I mean, I remember when
I think.
I was his
Well,
age.
I mean, we could have. Did we recommend any documentaries?
Yeah, I mean, recommend.
I mean,
such
we
stuff,
could.
like, before this. Watch Dominion on YouTube. Literally type in Dominion documentary.
Right. And
Wow,
new. Go jump over to YouTube, search Dominion full documentary, and check that out. Maybe come up some other time and talk about it after you watch that.
Just when it's going in a circle for that long with like these logical discussions, even if we somehow break their logic, in the like there's
Yeah,
too-
new. We weren't saying that you weren't being respectful. We just were kind of at an end to the conversation, so we're moving on.
they need something else a bit. Like, even if we got to their logical break, I don't think he would suddenly really recognize why he should. Even if he was like, okay, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Is that him for us?
We're just gonna preface the farmer with a little bit of hunky funky music, you know?
Okay, can I play some music then for you guys? Brian.